Hello and welcome to UPSC Prelims Practice 2020. Now this is the second video of October, and in this video we are going to take up important events which occurred in the second half of October, which mainly deal with indices, environment and art and culture. Now it is important for you to realize that not all the news appearing in the current affairs become important right from that perspective. For example, an important event from the perspective of international relation was a meeting between Indian Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping at Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram. There were no important takeaways from that meeting, but because of this visit site, which was Mahabalipuram, the place itself became important, and UPSC has also asked questions related to this place few times in the past years, and hence it is important for us to cover this site from the art and culture point of view. And hence it is important for you to realize that all the news appearing in the newspaper have various perspectives. Let's take another example. CSIR had launched green crackers in 2018. And in 2019, they came up with a report that their crackers are at least 30% greener as compared to those crackers which are available in the market. And hence it becomes important for us to cover those green crackers. Now there are two perspectives to it. Now the first is that you should understand what were the mechanisms which were utilized by the CSIR in designing these crackers. Now the second perspective is that of basic science, where it is expected of you to know that which element or metal impart what kind of color. So it becomes very important to cover the current affairs related information from the static perspective as well. And hence we have designed the Compass magazine in such a way that it balances both static as well as the current portions. We are releasing these magazines one by one. At the same time, it is important for you to solve as many questions as possible from any standard test series. So let's now begin the discussion.
Now, an important event from the perspective of international relations occurred in October, and that was India-China Mamallapuram Summit. Now, as a follow-up to the informal Wuhan Summit held in April 2018, the Indian Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi and his Chinese counterpart concluded the Mamallapuram Summit. And hence it becomes important for us to know certain facts about this special site. But before understanding what important things you should keep in mind, let's discuss two of the questions related to the same site which has been asked in UPSC in 2015 as well as in 2016. So in 2015, UPSC had asked, with reference to the art and archaeological history of India, which one among the following was made earliest? And the answer was rock-cut elephant at Dholi, which dates back to 3rd century BC, is the earliest among all these given four options. But you should focus that Mahabalipuram was also included as an option, and hence it becomes important. Apart from this, in 2016, UPSC had asked, what is are common to the two historical places known as Ajanta and Mahabalipuram? The statement 1 read, both were built in the same period, which is incorrect, as Ajanta caves are much older as compared to the monuments at Mahabalipuram. The second statement is both belong to the same religious denomination, which is also incorrect, as Ajanta mainly deals with the Buddhist religion, whereas the monuments at Mahabalipuram deal with the Hindu religion. And third statement is correct, as both have rock-cut monuments. Now, Ajanta is mostly rock-cut, whereas Mahabalipuram site is a mix of both rock-cut as well as non-rock-cut monuments, and hence the right answer was B3 only. So you can see that in the UPSC scheme of things, Mahabalipuram is an important site. And since such an important summit between Indian Prime Minister and Chinese President has taken place at this site, it becomes important for us to cover it. And then we will discuss some of the important takeaways of Mahabalipuram Summit. So the practice question 1 reads, consider the following monuments. Statement 1, Descent of Ganga. The statement 2 is Olakaneshwar Temple, and statement 3 is Shore Temple. Now first let's discuss some important facts about Mamallapuram. Mamallapuram, also known as Mahabalipuram, is a town in Tamil Nadu, and it is a coastal site. An important fact regarding this is that it has been included in the World Heritage Site mainly because of the 7th and the 8th century Hindu group of monuments at this site. Now, Mahabalipuram was a very important port city under the Pallav kingdom. And the name of the town is also derived from a famous Pallav king, Narsinghavarman I, who was also known as Mahamala, and hence the name Mahamalapuram. Now, the site is important mainly because it contains a group of royal monuments, which means that they were sanctioned by the ruling dynasty. And these date back to around 7th and 8th centuries, which include Raths, Mandaps, rock reliefs such as Descent of the Ganges, Shore Temple, as well as many other important temples like Olakaneshwar Temple, and hence the right answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Now, as far as Mamalamapuram summit as a follow-up to Wuhan summit is concerned, the important takeaways were year 2020 is going to be the 70th year of diplomatic relations between China and India. And hence the year 2020 has been designated as Year of India-China Cultural and People-to-People Exchanges. Now, the two nations also decided to work together on important international issues, for example, climate change and the reform in international organizations such as WTO. The two nations also reinforced their commitment to improve their trade relations. Let's now move on to the next question. Now, this question deals with a group of countries known by the name of CARICOM, and it became important in the month of October 2019. But before solving this question, let's first have a look at other similar groups on which UPSC has asked questions. So in 2019, UPSC had asked a present group of nations known as G8 started first as G7. Which one among the following was not one of them? And the right answer is Russia. So G8 or Group of 8 was an intergovernmental political forum which began in 1975 at a summit hosted by France. And at that time, it was a group of 6 governments: France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK and United States. And Canada joined in the very next year, that is in 1976, making it G7. And 20 years later, that is in 1997, Russia got an entry into G7, which became G8. And hence the right answer is D, Russia. Similarly, in 2015, a question was asked on Indian Ocean Rim Association. With reference to Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, consider the following statements. Statement 1. It was established very recently in response to incidents of piracy and accidents of oil spills. This statement is incorrect because IOR-ARC was formed in 1997 and with the aim of promoting economic and technical cooperation among the member countries. And the second statement reads, it is an alliance meant for maritime security only. And as we just discussed, that the main aim behind the creation of IOR-ARC was to promote economic and technical cooperation, and hence this statement is incorrect. So if you are keeping the touch with current affairs, it is very easy for you to answer this question because IOR-ARC appears in newspaper a lot of times and mainly with respect to economic and technical cooperation among the member countries. Hence the right answer is D, neither 1 nor 2. So similarly, a question has been formulated along the same lines. With reference to CARICOM grouping, consider the following statements. Statement 1. It is a group of Caribbean nations. Now this statement is correct, as the Caribbean community, also known as CARICOM, is a grouping of 15 member states and 5 associate members, and hence this statement is correct. Now the second statement says that India announced a $1 billion grant for development projects in these countries. Now this statement is incorrect, as in October, Prime Minister Modi announced a $14 million grant for community development projects in CARICOM countries and not $1 billion grant. And hence the right answer is A, 1 only. Let's now move on to the next question. Now this question deals with BHIM or Bharat Interface for Money, as in the month of October, the Union government had launched an improved version of BHIM which goes by the name BHIM 2.0. Now this question deals with BHIM app or Bharat Interface for Money, as in the month of October, Union government had launched an improved version which goes by the name BHIM 2.0. You know that BHIM is an important step of Government of India towards digital financial services as well as a step towards financial inclusion in the country right now. And hence it becomes important for us to have a look at few of the questions which have been asked related to such a services. And hence it becomes important for us to cover BHIM in detail. But first have a look at past year question related to NPCI. So in 2017, UPSC had asked, consider the following statements. Statement 1. National Payments Corporation of India helps in promoting the financial inclusion in the country, which is correct, as NPCI is an umbrella organization for all retail payment system in India. And hence, one of the objectives behind NPCI obviously becomes promoting financial inclusion in the country, and hence statement 1 is correct. And statement 2 says NPCI has launched RuPay, a card payment scheme, which is also correct. Now, BHIM has also been launched by NPCI, which is an umbrella organization for all retail payment systems in India. So, before discussing BHIM, let's have a quick look at NPCI. Now, as we just discussed, that it is an umbrella organization for all retail payment systems in India, and it was set up with the guidance and support of RBI and Indian Banks Association. Now, the core objective of NPCI is to consolidate and integrate the multiple payment systems with varying service levels into nationwide uniform and standard business process for all retail payment systems. And hence, by doing it, its objective is to facilitate an affordable payment mechanism to benefit the common man across the country and help financial inclusion. Before going into further detail, let's understand a few points regarding BHIM. The question reads, with reference to BHIM, consider the following statements. Statement 1, it acts as a mobile wallet, which is incorrect, as BHIM app is a mechanism which only transfers money between different bank accounts and it does not hold any amount of money, and hence statement 1 is wrong because it cannot act as a mobile wallet unlike Airtel Money or Paytm. The second statement is also incorrect, as currently there is a transaction limit of 20,000 rupees per transaction and 40,000 rupees per 24 hours, and hence the right answer is D, neither one nor two. Now in this regard, it becomes important for us to consider few of the changes which have been brought in BHIM 2.0. Now under BHIM 2.0, certain additional features and languages have been added to the existing BHIM app. Other new features include that the transaction limit has been increased. You can add multiple bank accounts and the option of applying for an IPO and gifting money has been added. So for the Prelims 2020, it is important for you to keep these things in mind. Let's now move on to the next question. So the next question is based on Purchasing Managers Index. Now, Purchasing Manager Index is important because it is usually released at the start of the month, much before most of the official data on industrial output, manufacturing, and GDP growth becomes available. It is therefore considered a good leading indicator of economic activity, and hence it is important for us to cover this important index. But before this, we'll have a look at two questions which have been asked related to the indices in UPSC Prelims examination. So we have taken the two questions asked in 2015 examination. Now the first one is, in the index of 8 core industries, which one of the following is given the highest weight? And the right answer is electricity generation. Now it is important for you to know the 8 components of these core industries because they together account for around 38% in index of industrial production, with electricity forming around 10% of the total weight, and hence it is the highest. Other core industries which are included in these 8 are coal, fertilizer, electricity, crude oil, natural gas, refinery product, steel and cement. Similarly, in 2015, another question was asked, which of the following brings out the consumer price index number for industrial workers? So as you know that there are a lot of components of CPI and one of them is industrial workers. So while rest of the CPIs are released by NSO, the CPI for industrial worker is released by the Labor Bureau, and it is an important thing to remember. So you can see that these two indices released by the Government of India is important, and hence it becomes important for us to cover Purchasing Managers Index also. With reference to Purchasing Managers Index, consider the following statements. Statement 1, it is released by SEBI. Statement 2, it tracks the actual production of goods and services. Now, statement 1 is incorrect, as the PMI data is published by Japanese firm Nikkei, but it is compiled and constructed by Market Economics, and that is why it is also known as Nikkei PMI. Now, as far as the sources of information for constructing this PMI is concerned, it is calculated on the basis of information received from companies on various factors that represent demand conditions. Now, it takes into account the following parameters for the calculation: new orders, output, employment, suppliers delivery, and stock of purchases. And hence, it is not based on actual production of goods and services, and hence statement 2 is also wrong, which leads us to the right answer, neither 1 nor 2. Now, as far as the values of PMI are concerned, a figure above 50 denotes expansion in business activity, and anything below 50 denotes contraction. And hence you should keep in mind that the number 50 is very important for PMI. So with this, let's now move on to the next question. Index, both of which were released in the month of October. But before that, let's have a look at questions asked related to ease of doing business index to understand what is the demand of UPSC Prelims examination. So in 2016, UPSC asked India's ranking in the ease of doing business index is sometimes seen in news. Which of the following has declared that ranking? And you know that the right answer is C, World Bank. So this was a very easy question. You just had to know which organization releases the index. But UPSC increased the level of question in 2019, where it was expected of you to know the components of this index as well. Which one of the following is not a sub-index of the ease of doing business index? Maintenance of law and order is not taken into account while calculating practice question on these indices. So in October 2019, Global Competitiveness Index was released, and hence this question, consider the following statements regarding Global Competitiveness Index. Statement 1, it is published by World Economic Forum, and this statement is correct. Statement 2 reads, it defines the competitiveness as the level of productivity of a country. This is also correct. Now it defines competitiveness as the set of institutions, policies and factors that determine the level of productivity of a country. And the index measures the performance based on more than 100 indicators which are organized into 12 pillars, mainly dealing with institutions, infrastructure, ICT adoption, macroeconomic stability, health, skills, and various other factors. Now, as far as India's rank is concerned, it was ranked 68th. And what is troublesome is that India's position has been reduced by 10 places as compared to a previous year when it was ranked at 58th position. So statement 3 is incorrect, as it says that it has consistently risen in last 3 years. And hence the right answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Let's now move on and solve another question on another very important index, which is Global Hunger Index. The question reads, consider the following statements regarding Global Hunger Index. Statement 1, it is published by International Food Policy Research Institute, or IFPRI. Now this statement is incorrect, as IFPRI was the institute which used to publish GHI till 2017, but from 2018, GHI is being jointly published by World Hunger Life and Concern Worldwide. The second statement says that it is based on nutrition levels in the population only. Now this statement is also incorrect, because the Global Hunger Index is a measure of hunger levels of countries based on 4 indicators under 3 dimensions, which are undernourishment, both in children as well as adults, child undernutrition including child wasting and stunting, and under 5 child mortality. So you can see that it is just not based on nutrition level in the population, but it also includes under 5 child mortality, and hence this statement is incorrect. Now as far as India is concerned, it's a grim reality that India was ranked at 102 out of 117 countries, and the level of hunger in the country was rated as severe hunger category and not as moderate hunger category, and this statement is also incorrect, and hence the right answer is none of the above, that is D. Let's now move on to the next set of questions. Now, the news related to adjusted gross revenue or AGR became important in October, and since then it has constantly remained in news because in October Supreme Court gave out an important judgment related to AGR. So first we will solve a question related to the terms which have been appearing in the newspaper and asked in the prelims examination as well. And one such term is merchant discount rate. Which one of the following best describes the term merchant discount rate sometimes seen in news? It was asked in 2018. And the right answer is C, that merchant discount rate is the charge to a merchant by a bank for accepting payments from his customers through the bank's debit cards. So basically it compensates the card issuing bank, the lender which puts the point of sale terminal and payment gateways such as MasterCard or Visa for their services. Now, MDR charges are usually shared in pre-agreed proportion between the bank and a merchant and is expressed in the percentage of transaction amount. And MDR had constantly been in news in 2017-18 as an aftermath of demonetization step taken by the government of India. And hence, adjusted gross revenue has also become rife. So the question, with reference to adjusted gross revenue of telecom companies, consider the following statements. Statement 1. The AGR is used to calculate the license fee and spectrum usage charges of telecom companies. Now this statement is correct. The AGR basically refers to the total revenue earned by telecom companies in India, and the calculation of AGR is considered to be significant because the AGR is in turn used to calculate the license fee and spectrum usage charges, which the telecom operators are required to pay to the government of India. For instance, the license fee is calculated as 3% of AGR and spectrum usage charges is calculated as 3% of AGR again. And hence, the way the AGR is calculated becomes quite important for telecom operators since it affects their overall revenues. The second statement is incorrect as the Supreme Court ruled that AGR would include the revenue earned from both core as well as non-core activities. You see that the telecom operators earn revenue from both core as well as non-core activities. Now, core includes mainly telecom services, whereas non-core sources of revenue include sale of assets, sale of mobile handsets, interest earned from bank deposits, and various others. Now, the controversy arose on account of differences between the government and telecom operators as to what constitutes the AGR. And finally, the Supreme Court ruled in the favor of government. As per the SC verdict, the telecom operators would be required to pay around 1.4 lakh crores including the penalty on AGR dues. Now, this verdict of the Supreme Court is going to have an adverse impact on telecom sector as well as on overall Indian economy. Let's now move on to the next question. Now, in the month of October, NASA and US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA) have come out with a report which said that the ozone hole over the Antarctic has been the smallest observed since 1982. So this shows that the global action taken as far as the ozone depletion is concerned, mainly the Montreal Protocol, has been very effective. And hence it becomes important for us to cover few of the recent developments as far as ODSs are concerned. But before that, we will have a look at question asked in past year. Now this question has been chosen because it tested the most basic understanding as far as ozone hole is concerned. The question in 2011 asked, the formation of ozone hole in the Antarctic region has been a cause of concern. What could be the reason for the formation of this hole? And the right answer is that the presence of prominent polar front and stratospheric clouds and inflow of chlorofluorocarbons is the main reason behind the formation of this ozone hole. Now, polar stratospheric clouds are clouds in the winter polar stratosphere at altitudes of around 15 to 25 kilometers. Now, one of the main types of polar stratospheric clouds is made up mostly of supercooled droplets of water and nitric acid, and it is considered to be responsible for the formation of ozone holes. Let's now solve a practice question. The question says, with reference to hydrofluorocarbons, consider the following statements. Statement 1, they are ozone depleting substances. Statement 2, they were included in Montreal Protocol through Kigali Amendment. Now you should know that hydrofluorocarbons have become important because in 2016 and 17 they were included under Montreal Protocol. And Montreal Protocol is the agreement which is binding and which takes care of all the ozone depleting substances throughout the world. But an exception are hydrofluorocarbons. They are not ozone depleting substances, but then also they were included into the protocol. Now the reason is that HFCs were used as replacements for a batch of ODS eliminated by the original Montreal Protocol. Although they do not deplete the ozone layer, but they are known to be very powerful greenhouse gases and hence contribute to the climate change. And hence the global community thought that their inclusion under Montreal Protocol would provide a set of practical, actionable tasks that were universally agreed on. So this is an important takeaway from this is that not all the chemicals included under Montreal Protocol are ozone depleting. However, you should keep in mind that the main reason behind the creation of Montreal Protocol was to control the ozone hole. Let's now move on and solve next practice question. The questions related to science and technology are very important. And UPSC generally asks very detailed questions on science and technology. For example, in 2018, the question was, consider the following statements. Statement 1, the Earth's magnetic field has reversed every few 100,000 years, which is correct as the Earth's magnetic field has reversed many times in last million years. Now the second statement is incorrect as when the Earth was created, that is 4.6 billion years ago, it had almost no atmosphere and there is no question that oxygen was present at that time. While the third statement is correct because when living organisms including plant and microbes began to emerge on the surface of the earth, they started modifying the atmosphere and the main credit goes to the plants which induced oxygen through the process of photosynthesis. And hence the right answer is C, 1 and 3 only. Similarly, in the month of October 2019, CSIR had released a report where it said that the green crackers released by it are 30% less polluting than the commonly available crackers in the market. And hence, the question arises that what are these green crackers? So before that, let's solve this question. But before that, let's solve this question. Which of the following are the green crackers released by CSIR? Now, CSIR scientists have developed less polluting firecrackers which are not only environment friendly but around 20 to 30% cheaper than the conventional ones. And these are safe water releaser or SWAS, safe minimal aluminum or SUFFAL, and safe thermite cracker or STAR. And hence all these three are included in the green crackers released by the CSIR. Now, one more important piece of information is that along with CSIR, these crackers have been prepared in collaboration with NERI. Let's now move on to the next question. Which of the following best explains the term geotail recently seen in news? And the right answer is C. It is the region surrounding the Earth which is created due to the interaction of solar wind and Earth's magnetic field. Now, in the month of October 2019, ISRO informed that an instrument on Chandrayaan-2 had detected charged particles during the mission, and this happened during the orbiter's passage through geotail, and hence this term became important for the prelims point of view. Now, as you know that Sun emits solar wind, which is a continuous stream of charged particles. These particles are embedded in the extended magnetic field of the Sun. Now, since the Earth also has its own magnetic field, it obstructs the solar wind plasma. This interaction results in the formation of magnetic envelope around Earth. Now, on the Earth side facing the Sun, the envelope is compressed into a region that is approximately 3 to 4 times the radii of Earth. Whereas on the opposite side, the envelope is stretched into a long tail which extends beyond the orbit of the Moon. It is this tail that is known as geotail. So with this, we have come to the end of discussion on October's current affairs. Stay tuned on Rao's IAS Study Circle's YouTube channel for more such videos on prelims examination.